Hello, and welcome to the Sidescape Gaming Podcast. I'm your host, Jake Burke, and joined as always by James St. Charles. James, it is episode 20, a
20
monumentous occasion.
Yes.
So, I want to first say this, before we even say how you're doing, how anything's happening. I want to say thank you to everyone watching and who has watched, and especially to you, James. Cheers to 20 more episodes.
Cheers, good sir.
All right, what are you drinking?
Vodka and Hanson's Black Cherry.
Ooh, I thought you were going to say LaCroix, and I was going to get really excited.
I wish I had LaCroix. We didn't have any LaCroix. LaCroix is all like bought out over here.
Oh, really? I'm buying it in mass quantities.
Yeah, it's like gets on the shelf and gets gone immediately.
I am stocking up because if the apocalypse happens, I want to make sure I got two things.
You should just learn how to make LaCroix.
Oh my god.
Seltzer and like, I don't know what the other
just squeeze juice into it. Just like squeezing limes into seltzer.
You gotta learn
water.
how to carbonate your own water, you know?
Yeah, right, exactly. That's what I need to do. Carbonate my own water. Because I'm glad we're talking about LaCroix. Because
I was gonna wait for the segue for the carbonated water into video games.
Water.
Speaking of carbonated
water, this is the Sidescape Gaming Podcast, episode 20, where every Monday morning a new episode goes live on YouTube, SoundCloud, and Spotify. Once a week, James and I sit down and we Skype across 500 miles to talk about the latest video game news like Gamescom going digital only, and our main topic like this week's spoiler-free review of Final Fantasy VII Remake. We will be doing a spoiler cast as like a part 2 of this episode that will also be live when this is up. And at the end of every episode, we slowly build the Sidescape Top 20 Best Games of All Time list. It is my turn to pick this week by adding one game at a time. But before we do any of that, James, I'd like to know what you've been playing other than Final Fantasy VII Remake.
I've been playing a lot.
Wow, okay.
I'll start with the usual, though.
Okay.
So continuing Civ, that's like continuous. We're just playing that through. Talked about on last week's episode. Starting a new campaign, trying to go all the way through. Now that we have time, and got a team of 3 dedicated to it, and we might expand to a team of 4. But I think that we'll see. Maybe if you're interested, we'll do a team of 5.
Okay.
Because it might just be easier to do players only. But that being said, when you have more people, it's longer. It's harder for them to all get on the same page.
Yeah.
You know. But I got a game this week that is very controversial. It's like they gotta document this. This is what it is called.
Okay.
It's called the No Man's Sky effect.
Oh.
So this is what happens when a game is overly hyped, and it releases and is utter trash. That's the No Man's Sky effect. No Man's Sky was the first one to popularize it. This is the other game. And it's just had its No Man's Sky effect come full circle, where it got better after many updates. Fallout 76.
Yes, you texted me earlier this week and you said, Jake, would you like to play Fallout 76 with me? And to be honest, I said, no, James.
Yeah.
I absolutely would not.
That's okay, because this game has probably burned more people and they'll never come back.
Yeah.
Because it was utter trash when it first released. It was pay to win. It was awful. But this week, they released the Wastelanders update.
Okay.
And it's basically back to where it should have been. This is the game where it should have released. It's got human NPCs. They didn't even have human NPCs. It just had robots. It's got many new weapons, new crafting items, a full storyline quest, like main story quest. That's the only reason why I'm playing, is because it finally has that. And it has private options. So you can pay $13 a month for a private lobby with 8 players.
Right, okay.
And that's like, what's the point?
Yeah.
Because $13 a month really for a private server? Like, holy shit, are you money grabbing? But besides the point, public has been great. I haven't had any griefing issues. I've met like 8 players probably, and all of them have been good. I saved a guy from a bunch of robots. That was fun. He gave me some water. And then some higher level guy like gave me some stuff because I was like struggling. It's pretty great. I'm 6 hours into it, so I'm loving it so far. Give me that feel of Fallout.
Okay. That's what I was going to ask. How much does it feel like a Fallout game opposed to like a Division or Destiny style game? It feels
like Fallout 4 just online. Which is like, is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? I liked Fallout 4. I played all of Fallout 4 and all of the content.
I didn't mind it.
It's not great, but for $40, I think it can provide a lot of content. I'm barely touching the surface of all the.
And you said you're 6 hours in, and you feel like you've
6 hours in, and I've done like one full part of a quest, and I'm like, supposedly it's like 30 hours of content, so that's pretty great.
Are you playing with anyone else?
No, I'm just going solo right now. But you can go solo.
That's
like,
awesome.
You barely run into anyone on the server. The map is big. It's 4 times bigger than the Fallout 4 map. So.
Oh really?
That tells you how big it is. You run into like 2 people max through my whole time, and I've been traveling far, and you can fast travel the places you've been to, which is great.
Okay.
So, but it's kind of a little bit like Fallout 4 on hardcore. It's really hard to like get ammo, and then the problem I've been having is like wait. I'm trying to like collect everything I see just because it's like, oh crap, there's like not enough money, not enough ammo, but then you like get too heavy. So they have a bunch of stations around where you can junk stuff, store stuff. So it's pretty fun like that.
Okay.
Going for a nice luck build.
And so you're gonna be continuing playing that? I'm curious your updates.
Keep playing that. But I was supposed to ask people because you can have a party of 4, and you guys can just play, and you'll be instanced the same. So the loot is instance, which means like I can go loot something, and then you'll be able to go loot something, and you'll get the same loot. It's not
that's
like
nice.
Anyone splitting loot.
But
I can drop something for you, and you can pick it up. So that's what's pretty great on that. So I haven't watched people who doing like co-op, but most of the playthroughs I've seen is just one person going through.
I feel like that's what Fallout is, really.
Yeah, and this game is meant to be played publicly. So the private lobby, like, it kind of defeats the purpose. I feel like the public is nice, but
yeah,
we'll see how far I go on that. I'm actually kind of excited because I feel like it could be a turnaround. But when 76 released, Pete Hines was not on Twitter for 6 months. That's how bad the blowback was for. We see the videos. We see how bad it is. So
yeah,
I'm hopeful. I think it can turn around. But that being said, anyone who's been burned,
I totally understand.
Understood.
Yeah.
Completely understood. If you don't want to come back to it,
Was the Wastelanders update free for anyone that owned the game? Okay.
Free update. But the dumb thing I think is that if you were someone who's like been playing the game, you don't get to activate unless you go all the way back to the beginning. They have to basically go back to the Vault 76 and start, because that's where the campaign starts. Basically.
Okay.
The new full quest. It like ends, and it didn't even have a proper like quest system. It was very weird, like how they.
That's bizarre. I remember just the cataclysmic launch of Fallout 76.
Well, first it like released on their own little like Bethesda client.
Yeah.
Now it's on Steam, so I bought it on Steam, which is great. And it had a lot of issues.
Did it just come out for Steam?
I think so. Yep.
Yeah. That's what I thought. I thought I read something about it coming out for Steam with this update.
That's actually, I feel that's gonna help it.
Yeah.
Because Fallout, it's like a staple. I feel like for a lot of like Steam users. So.
Yeah, definitely.
But that being said, it has the game. It's one of those things where like, don't release like a rushed game.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be battle time. It's like same with No Man's Sky. Like I've never touched No Man's Sky after it has all the great updates.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because I got burned on No Man's Sky, so I'm not gonna go back.
My first like return game, like return digital.
I watched recently, just talking about No Man's Sky, was the original trailer they showed, like debuting the game, where the guy walks out and there's like fauna everywhere and like birds flying overhead and monsters, and it's like,
yep,
oh my god, this game's amazing. And then like I looking in my mind's eye of like when I played that, of like just walking on like these barren wastelands with like two trees.
So
and,
barren,
like,
and you go like you see one trailer and it's like the exact same and like nothing inside, and
oh my god, they lied to everyone about this game.
It was just empty nothingness.
Yeah, bizarre. Very bizarre.
Yeah, but supposedly it's getting better updates, and the team really turned around, and that's what they did with Fallout 76.
Yeah,
it's got a nice Wastelanders update. If it needs a little bit more though, I feel like so far I've been playing it, it's like this is how it should have been when it released.
I wonder how much more they'll sink into it.
Like, so I swear at this point, 1.5 years later, they released this update. 1.5 years.
Yeah.
By this time, I think Fallout 4 had like at least 2 DLCs already like in full swing when it was like 1 year after it released.
Yeah.
Because it was about like 3 or 4 years of Fallout 4 DLCs.
Well, they were fixing a ton of like technical problems.
It's just, I think they took on more than they needed to. They could have literally just released another Fallout single player, or even not even like a full open world, just like, oh, co-op, 4 players, that's it. That would have been 10 times easier. But I don't know. Like it was like the first Bethesda failure. It's like the real big Bethesda failure.
Yeah, they had a few after that.
They've had a few.
Wolfenstein.
But I feel like they might be coming back full circle because you had a good Doom. You maybe Fallout 76 gets a.
We'll see. We'll see what else they have coming. We don't know. We don't know. We don't know a lot about what's coming next now. Now that Final Fantasy VII Remake is out, it's like, is there any new games coming out for a long time?
Hey, Gears Tactics next week.
Whoa.
free on Game Pass.
I know. Are you gonna try it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I might as well.
Me. Let's just
Okay.
see how it is.
Yeah, see how it is.
I don't know if I'm gonna put too much time into it.
What else have you been playing? You said you had a lot on the list.
That was.
Oh,
I
okay.
was lying.
I played 33 hours of Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Yep.
So that was kind of basically all I've been playing. Of course, I've dipped into Animal Crossing. I'm getting just destroyed in the stock market this week. I mean, I have not had one good price. I'm going to lose
both.
so many bells. And Tom Nook is going to come with his goddamn baseball bat and break my knees tonight because I have not paid his loan off in a long time. And I am very, very, very nervous.
Do you get any like, can he take stuff away from you
No.
if you don't pay your? Aw.
No.
Can he foreclose on you and like have all your?
You just wake up one morning and you have like a limp. And then you're like, oh my God,
you
what
like
happened?
restart.
Yeah.
You have nothing.
He moves you to a new
I
island.
own it.
There's 2 Tom Nooks on this island. He's
Get
multiplying.
kicked out of your own island.
That would be terrifying. I did get to boot one person I did not like off my island.
Oh, good.
So Murphy is gone, and we have now Humphrey. And I can't tell what animal Humphrey is, but I like him. He's like this weird bear pig thing, and I'm like, all right, I'm in.
Oh,
He's like a hybrid.
nice.
Yeah. All right, well, that's all I've been playing. So let's move right on to the news, because I think we're going to talk about Final Fantasy VII for a long time.
Yeah.
We're going to want to get there ASAP. So, in the news, Gamescom is officially canceled. Will now be a digital-only event. This comes direct from Gamescom's Twitter account. So we talked about last week, Gamescom was in limbo, and then basically, I guess the entire country of Germany said we are not doing physical events in our country for a year.
So I think you're not gonna see that from a lot of countries, sadly. Just because you can't really do anything without a vaccine. So
Yep.
and you can't just build up herd immunity. So sadly, you're any event that you're planning on going to for a year probably is not gonna happen.
Yeah.
Sadly. That being said, what are they doing instead?
They're doing a digital-only event. So this comes right from their Twitter. They put a little, blurb up there. Dear Gamescom community. It's very small, so I'm going to have to zoom in. It's official. Unfortunately, Gamescom will under no circumstances take place on-site in Cologne this year. Just like many of you, we are disappointed. Because as the Gamescom team, we have been working on a wonderful Gamescom 2020 for months. Just like the many exhibitors. However, if it is also clear that to us, in the face of this corona pandemic, we must stand united. That means we must all be considerate of each other and reduce the risk of infection. We are, however, already working on a full speed on a digital Gamescom. It is, after all, the world's biggest event for games, and that's what it should be this year again. You can already look forward to how we will celebrate the best games and Gamescom together with you and millions of gamers worldwide at the end of August. One day after my birthday, might I add. Even if it will only be a digital and not on location this time. Because one thing is certain, this year too, Gamescom is and will remain the heart of gaming. I like how it's in quotes too. Like that's like what people say a lot about it. I love that. We will reveal more about this in the next few weeks. Until then, stay healthy and don't forget, stay home, play together. Your Gamescom team. Very cool. And then they talk about tickets. They're refunding all tickets purchased, which of course they should do.
Yep.
But then Jeff Keighley, our boy, tweeted, with the physical Gamescom event not going forward, Gamescom Opening Night Live will now be a digital-only show streaming live Monday, August 24th.
That's the one that he's hosting.
Yes.
Oh,
In spite of... And he did it last year, but now he's not doing E3 this year, so this is
because he said he's not going to do E3, he's going to do Gamescom. And
and he did Gamescom Opening Night Live last year, too, and PlayStation usually has a conference at Gamescom, and so this will... I mean, obviously Gamescom is a huge deal, so it's cool that we're still going to get that kind of digital event.
Do you think more events, like, that's in August, so you have, like, a lot of more of these type of big events, packs, possibly go digital? Because they have more time. A lot of the events that are like happening like May, June, like no chance in like setting something up.
I don't see, like, in my personal opinion, I don't see PAX or anything going fully digital because they're such fan events that like there's not a lot of announcements made at PAX. Same with like RTX and stuff like that.
There's like stuff done though.
Yes.
There's like D&D events. There's like some talks. But you're right. It's all like fan questions. So how are you gonna like? Or fan interactions. Yeah,
and so it's a lot of demo playing and a lot of indie people getting their games in front of like the community, right? So I don't think you'll see a lot of that, but I think you'll see like what IGN's doing and certain companies. Kind of funny, who I really like. They are like Kind of Funny Showcase, their indie showcase. They've done 2 of them, so I'm sure we'll see another one this year, as indie developers aren't getting like the publicity that they normally get. But I don't see like PAX or anything going like fully digital. Gamescom, obviously, we know E3 is not going digital. but I think we're going to see a lot. We know that Microsoft too, they've announced that all of their events for the next, not Xbox, but Microsoft as a company, will be fully digital for the next 2 to 3 years.
That I feel like is completely fine.
Yeah.
Those types of company, but you're right. When stuff is like purely fan direction,
yeah,
a lot of like those expos,
Comic-Con just got canceled.
What are they gonna do? Yep.
So I think we're going to see a lot of that, not a lot of replacement in those regards. But Gamescom's cool. And especially the announcements, and it's cool for us that aren't in Germany or go to these events that like we get to be basically the same part as everyone else.
We're always attending them digital, usually,
right?
So it's just the same for us, but just more trailers, like more announcements, more which is great because I think we can still, maybe they'll have a better, because it'll be more tailored for digital. Maybe we'll get even a better event, or we'll have some format that like people will follow. But I think IGN, what they're doing this summer, is going to be the big thing.
Mm-hmm. And I think you're going to see a lot of. I think you're going to see a lot. Sorry to cut you off, but I think you're going to see a lot of demos coming out too, like that we haven't seen in a while. But like indie games, like PAX would be, but being released on Steam, or being like PlayStation doing like a indie demo event. Yeah, just like a free like 10-minute trial of a game and be like, oh, I really like that. Like, I think you hopefully see that so we can get kind of indie interaction because
there's potential here, and that's like, sadly, like it's come to this, but there could be some innovation to be done with this, and then you could have some joint events where it's like in person and digital, and it'll just make things better. I feel like.
I agree. I think this change will be for the better in the long run. Obviously, it's super scary right now, and we don't know when this is going to end, but there's going to be a lot of progressive stuff, especially for games and how they're rolled out. So,
yes,
we'll see. But as of right now, not a lot of games we know coming out. Who knows what's going to happen this year with games?
Yeah, we're probably going to hit big delay soon.
Yeah, we've already seen The Last of Us. I'm sure Ghost of Tsushima is being delayed. It's weird they didn't announce that at the same time.
Definitely, yeah. But
we'll see. I'm curious now about consoles, and we will be talking about that in a little bit. So the next story. ESRB intros a new label for loot boxes. Because remember the loot box fiasco of 2 years ago where everyone freaked out? This is by Brendan St. Clair over at gamesindustry.biz. The ESRB today introduced a new rating designation to indicate when a game has randomized elements among its in-game purchases. The new designation, or interactive element, as the rating board calls it, will be assigned to any title with an in-game offer to spend real money on something when players won't know exactly what they will receive for their money. While the move is clearly targeted at loot boxes, the phrasing is intended to cover card packs, prize wheels, and other such mechanics. This is the ESRB's second time adapting its system due to criticism of loot boxes and other randomized monetization. The group's first attempt to address the concerns came a little over 2 years ago when it introduced a designation that the game features in-game purchases. The ESRB said in its announcement that the second move has been made primarily in response to feedback from players, not from parents. According to research, parents are far more concerned about their child's availability to spend real money in games than the fact that those in-game purchases may be randomized. That's interesting. The group said, this data helped to inform the introduction of the in-game purchases interactive element. That being said, since adding in-game purchases, notice to ratings assigned to physical games, many game consumers and enthusiasts, not necessarily parents, have reached out to us asking the ESRB include additional information to identify games that include randomized purchases. Just an interesting thing. You're going to start seeing it on the tag of games.
Yeah.
E for everyone. It's good.
Are parents really looking at that like guns and violence was like a big thing and drugs and but loot boxes? Like that's in almost all the kids games that are playing right now.
Right. And I think that's
Fortnite,
right? And
Call of Duty,
Overwatch I think that it's good to just have clarity. Especially because I remember back in the day with M-rated games, right? When I was 10, 12, and I really wanted to play Halo. My dad's like, you can't play Halo because M's for mature. And having to basically sit down and explain the plot of Halo to my dad because he thought the M rating was the equivalent to Grand Theft Auto.
Exactly.
So he's like, you're killing prostitutes in Halo. And
everyone thought that. Yeah.
No, you're just fighting aliens. It's no worse than Saving Private Ryan that we watched. So I think
I convinced my parents with war games.
Yeah.
It's just war. Okay, it's history.
Yeah, right. I'm learning about the Covenant Human War. Come on.
Yeah, it's just a war game.
So I think just transparency is always good. So it's good to have that. And obviously loot boxes are such an interesting thing.
It's needed, but I know in EU they have very tight restrictions on how loot boxes, because it's basically gambling.
Yep.
Kids, and there's a gray area there. I feel like if there's not a chance, you don't have to spend a lot of money for it. Cool, but it exploded a while back with like CS:GO skins when you could like actually get money, and then it was like, oh crap, this is actually gambling, and then they had to actually figure out what to do there.
Fortnite doesn't have loot boxes, right? They just have
you get V-Bucks and then you buy skins.
Buy skins, but you know what skin you're buying.
So they did that to circumvent a lot of loot box laws. Which the new Call of Duty, you don't get loot boxes. You pay what you want.
Yeah, which I think is really cool. I actually really like that. Yeah.
Yep.
I don't like the whole loot box booster pack mentality. Because as a kid, I spent a lot of money on Yu-Gi-Oh card booster packs.
So did I. And Magic.
And Magic. Oh my god.
I have like a 10K collection. I definitely did not spend 10K for it.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm sure you spent many a K though.
Many more.
Many K. All right. Next story. Sony reportedly limiting PS5 launch window to 6 million units. This comes from James Batchelor over at GamesIndustry.biz. Sony is reportedly planning for a more cautious start to the next console generation by limiting the number of PlayStation 5 units it ships in the first year. Sources told Bloomberg the platform holder and its assembly partners will manufacture just 5 to 6 million units on the PS5 by March 2021, the end of the fiscal year. With the PS5 targeting a holiday 2020 release, that would be the end of the console's second quarter. By comparison, PS4 sold 7.5 million units in its first 2 quarters. Sony declined to comment. Sources claimed that while Sony's marketing plans for PS5 have been affected, the COVID-19 pandemic has no impact on the manufacturing process. Instead, the reason for the limited run is partially because Sony expects the PS5's high-end specs to lead to a higher price at launch, which will affect demand. Bloomberg claims that the console is expected to sell between $500 and $550, which is the rise in costs and scarcity for components forcing Sony to raise the price in order to break even. Earlier this year, it was reported that the PS5 could cost around $450 per unit to make. There have been many concerns that disruption caused by COVID-19 could lead to PS5 or its rival Xbox Series X to be delayed to 2021. However, Sony released a statement that said that it's currently not the case. Earlier this month, the platform holder unveiled the DualSense controller, our only hint as to the design of the console so far.
What are your thoughts?
I think it's interesting that this is the reason that it's going to be more like a less volume. I understand that like apparently there are these scarce parts and being incorporated, and I know that COVID-19 is affecting parts being manufactured to the scarcity, but maybe they're not affecting PlayStation's pipeline and manufacturing, but they're affecting whoever they're buying's pipeline, if that makes sense, that trail that I'm trying to explain. I think it's interesting that they're very hesitant and they don't want to just delay the console at this point. I think they kind of just, if nothing's coming out for this thing.
Yeah, but here's the counter, is if it's PS4, compatible, I'm just going to like sell my PS4 and get a PS5 as soon as possible.
Yeah. So
I can see the flip side where people are just buying it out and then it's going to be even more expensive because everyone's like buying it and there's going to be none available. It's going to be like the Nintendo Wii fiasco where it was just like limited units and they're just like spurts of Wiis. And like I can never get one, so I didn't get one, but I got 360.
Well, and like the Nintendo Switch right now, nobody can find it because they can't make the dang console.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
So they're buying it all up and it's just, I feel like that could happen with PS5.
Yeah, and like
that doesn't happen.
The scarcity thing is always an issue, right? With like the artificial scarcity, but also it makes people want it more, right? Like when the Switch came out and I couldn't find one, I would go on. There was like a tracker that you could track the Nintendo Switch, like what stores it was at. And I remember it went to like a Walmart when I was living in Sacramento, and it was like the minute it hit Walmart, I looked at Maddie. I was like, "We need to go right now." I didn't have a job. I was just like, "We gotta go right now," and like we picked it up, and it was a very irresponsible purchase, but I did it.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I was like, I don't have this money, but I need to buy this console.
No, I think the hardcore gamer is definitely going to buy it right away, but I feel like that's too low. This is like a big console. I feel like people are fiending for a new console.
That's my thing is like...
And they're looking at PS5, I feel.
Yeah. Well, especially with like coming off the heels of PlayStation 4, which is one of the best selling consoles of all time. Not only that, like this generation... You associate gaming in general with the PlayStation 4, like
yes. Well, a lot of the staple exclusives.
Well, that's what I'm saying, right? Like just even like Call of Duty, right? It's now on PlayStation 4. Like everything's there, just like it was for Xbox 360 last year. But not only that, the exclusives this time too are also on that main console. Where like by the end of PS3 and Xbox 360, like PS3's exclusives had like notoriety and like Uncharted's there, Last of Us is there. Xbox doesn't have any of that, right? Like
Yeah, because Halo's
Gears
on PC,
5's there.
so it's just.
But even like the games Microsoft has, it's like, I guess Gears 5 is pretty good, but like there's better third-person shooters that are exclusive.
They've really not had an exclusive game.
Not really.
No, you're right. That's why it's like, Final Fantasy.
Which I didn't know was exclusive.
Yeah, it's not going to be for a while, I don't think.
Yeah, it's like a year.
Because they've released every single Final Fantasy on PC, even 15, so it's just, it's going to go to other consoles.
Yeah, it'll be on Xbox and stuff, but
yep.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that they're not too worried about like the release and then also wanting to delay into 2021 at this point. But we'll see. My guess that means they have an exclusive that is only on PS5 that will be coming out this year with the console, and they're like, we can't delay it because we can't like screw up our pipeline of exclusives that we have already set out with like.
There's something there which we'll see, but I don't know because things are actually going up in price, like for a lot of computer parts, which those parts are used in a lot of console parts.
Yeah,
like power supplies, they've gone up. They've almost doubled because to get the components to make them have been expensive. They all come from China.
Yeah, because it's all just scarce.
But I feel like now they are ramping back up. Kind of is for a lot of production, so it may start to go down, which then they'll hit their target.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But Japan just started their quarantines. See.
Well, it's gonna be very interesting, kind of the next few months. With like we've been talking about just throughout this episode, is what games are coming out, and like that affects everything too, right? Like if The Last of Us can't come out till November, like say we're just in this forever, if it can't come out till November, you're not gonna have the PS5 come out and then launch The Last of Us on PS4.
And it's sad that you can't do a digital only release, which is so weird because I feel like everything needs the internet nowadays, and it's like, how can you not do digital only? But I understand that having your game there in a store is advertising.
Yeah.
So it's getting your game out there. Like even if you see it and you don't buy it there, like maybe you'll just be home and be like, oh, I can just download it.
Yeah, but like the throttling your internet speeds. Like imagine if like you're trying to download all these games and everybody's trying to download it. And
yeah, it takes me hours.
Yeah, it takes you hours to upload this video too. It's nuts. All right, James, I want to get nuts. That was a good transition. I'm just proud of that one. Yes. About Final Fantasy VII Remake. This will be a spoiler-free talk. We'll talk very loose about like the story, not even like elements of the story.
Any characters, nothing.
I think it's good to talk about like we'll talk about character interactions or the action's crazy, blah blah blah. But we aren't gonna like go like it's crazy that Cloud's mother is a fish. Like we're not gonna say that. Oh my god!
Yeah, all right, cut it, guys.
So, but
all right, guys, we're doing.
Hello and welcome to the Side Escape Gaming Podcast. But then we will be posting our spoiler-filled kind of spoiler talk because I want to talk to you about the story and all the research that I've done now about Final Fantasy VII.
Yes.
So, but first, James, I don't know your thoughts on this game. I know my thoughts, obviously, because they're mine.
Yeah.
I want to hear what you think of Final Fantasy VII Remake.
It's probably the best Japanese RPG I've ever played of all time.
Mm-hmm.
And I played many. I think it has probably one of the best combat systems of any Japanese RPG.
Yeah.
It's probably one of the most fun I've had, like, fighting. It doesn't feel grindy. It feels like you're doing stuff, which is amazing. And it feels like you have actual... It's like chess and checkers at the same time, if that makes sense. Like, it feels like I'm moving fast, but I'm also planning 3 moves ahead, and it's so great.
It's like chess, checkers, football, hockey,
Chinese,
and an anxiety attack all at once.
Yeah, you're doing so much, but at the same time, you're like 3 moves ahead, and you're controlling like 3. Let's just explain it, like how it is.
Well, I want to start with my thoughts. Just my the overbranching thing, like you just said. Piggybacking on what you said, not only is this one of the best JRPGs I've ever played, I firmly believe this is one of the best video games I've ever played. It is probably, I think it is in my top 10 video games ever.
It's definitely my number 1 for this year.
It is my game of the year by far. I want to talk briefly about, I don't think it'll be beat, but we'll talk about that. I am utterly amazed at how much I love this game. I did not think that I was going to love it this way. I thought I was going to really like it.
Yeah.
But to be captivated by not only the story, the characters, which are, I mean, some of my favorite characters now that I like keep thinking about.
Yeah, me too.
Maybe the best video game soundtrack I've ever heard.
I was gonna talk about that. The soundtrack is, it got help because the original was already one of the best Final Fantasy soundtracks of all time. Elevated. Like I didn't even think it could be elevated as much.
Yeah,
as it did.
And then to then have this combat system that is so complex and overwhelming and like, I'm never going to be good at this. And then to like, I don't even know how the game does this, but then to have the moment where like you do something right and you're like, oh, that's how I stagger that enemy. Okay, now I got to start doing this. Oh, that's what blocking's really useful. Like, I'm utterly fascinated. I am in love with this game. I mean, obviously we played 33 hours in a week, but I was sad to see it end, and I'm really excited to replay it. And I know that I will be replaying this game for many years. It's an incredible video game.
Yeah, it has a ton of replayability, especially with how you can do builds, and because it's an RPG, so it has pure RPG elements, which are so great.
So I think we should start with the combat, because our buddy Gunnar, who listens to the show, and we've mentioned him before, he texted us earlier. He's like, should I watch someone play this game on Twitch, or should I play this game? And I think this is a game that when you experience it when you're on the sticks or on the keypad or whatever, this game is at its best because you get connection to these characters.
Yeah, I agree.
So the combat system, I think, is where we should start. What are your thoughts, and let's maybe break down how this combat system works.
Yeah, so it's so reminiscent of the original game. It's scary because it has the turn-based elements in there, and you don't even realize it does.
Yep.
So first, if you play Final Fantasy 15, it kind of comes right off that combat system, but that system was just like too crazy. Like you were doing too much that you shouldn't have been doing.
Yes.
This one like perfectly keeps you balanced. Like it's like, all right, here's the tools, here's how you get them. So it has this great system. It's called action points.
Yes. So
that is the greatest thing they've ever done in any video game or RPGs whatsoever. Like building up action points.
I think it's So jumping onto what you said with Final Fantasy 15, that game was very hack and slashy, in my opinion.
Yep.
I felt like I'm hitting square the entire time.
I like never had any issue like with any boss until I got to the very end, which is so dumb. But it was so easy, just like hack and slash the whole way.
Having my girlfriend Maddie was watching me play this game a lot. She was very into the story, and noticing the combat was boring her. It looks like a hack and slash game. On the surface, this game looks like you are just jamming a button, and occasionally you're bouncing between characters. But basically, you are hack and slashing enemies basically to build up your ATB meter, your action time something, but for your action points. You're building up these meters, and each character has 2 meters. And once you get a meter, you can use an ability, either an ability, a spell, or an item with this 1 bar of use. Some moves take up 2 bars. And you're constantly trying to build that. Well, you have 3 characters that you're playing with at a time, which seems very complicated. And to be playing as Cloud, Barrett, Tifa, Aerith,
you control one person, and you can like start the battle with whoever you want,
which is really cool.
You can flip with on the fly, but at the same time, while you're doing a move, you can already tell the other people what to do, which is amazing. Like how to like set up stacks. And so when you have these the ATB, like when you have those ATB points built up, how you build it up is it builds up over time out of combat, or you can start fighting and like deal some damage to the enemy, and then it builds up. And then at that point, you can use your items, you can use your spells, you can use your abilities, which I think is fascinating because you don't have to use it right away, which I think would be too overpowered.
Which it
gives you can only do one at a time though, so you can't do an ability. You have to think about, okay, do I want to heal at this point, or do I want to put like a fire spell, or it's just so great, like what you want to think each person to do, and like where you want them positioned. It is so complex at the same time. It works so well.
It reminds me of when we played Doom Eternal this year, and like
I was gonna say the exact same thing.
Yeah, like you like start to see the matrix of the game, and you're like by the end when you're fighting like certain bosses at the end, and there are a lot of bosses at the end of this game, and they are all fucking incredible. But you're fighting certain bosses, and like you're like, okay, I'm gonna lightning this guy, I'm gonna shoot this guy, I'm gonna hit with Cloud here, I'm gonna switch back to Aerith and keep jamming this to like build up her meter to heal, and then like you're like doing 5 or 6 moves.
Yep.
Oh my god, it's amazing.
I was literally the Matrix, just like you're saying. You in Doom, it's like a different Matrix. It's like you're going in, you see the enemies, you go in. This, it's like I see the moves. Like I see there's one enemy and I see the moves, and I know exactly what I want to do at what point, what he's doing. It is like intense, and it felt like when I was playing it, I was like, man, this battle feels like what I was playing Doom.
Yeah,
like just like really like intense.
Yeah, then I can't wait for the spoiler talk to talk about these certain bosses that I really just fell in love with. So that's like the general gist of the combat. It's very complex on the surface, But as you kind of go through the game, you slowly start to realize stuff. Like, I don't even think the game outright tells you like every time.
It doesn't tell you, which I think is great.
Yeah.
It lets you discover like, oh, there's these synergies you could do. Like, I didn't even realize like how much I could stack until like halfway, like maybe like 10 hours in the game.
The minute
it was just like, what?
So there's a bunch of chapters in this game. I'm in there's like 2 chapters to go, and I learned that I have a materia, which is a spell that you can link to your weapons or your armor, that links a spell to your weapon type that you can then like add fire damage to your weapon. Yeah, and I was like, that's what this does? I haven't been using this at all.
Or there's the ones that you could boost the other ones so that you can, if you use it, it'll like target more than one person.
Yeah, you can magnify the area.
Magnify, that's what it is.
Yeah. And then
man, there's so many good stuff.
There's a materia. So all right, now let's jump to the RPG segments of this game.
Yes. So now the combat, let's talk about the equipment and the actual RPG.
So you have four characters that you play as. It's not a spoiler that there is 4 characters that you play as. You play as Cloud, who is, as we've talked about, he is your protagonist. We called him the fuckboy last week.
Fuckboy.
He is a soldier that is just, I guess I'll do this for money. Fuck. But slowly throughout this game, he becomes this like great hero, this like reluctant hero that like starts to care, which is just awesome. And then you have Tifa, who is like his childhood friend, who is a fighter who, when we first started playing this game, I texted you, Tifa or Aerith. Did that switch at any point for you?
Hell no. It actually, I feel like got worse. Like,
oh really? Okay. I actually started Aerith's my girl, 100%. But I
was way too focused on Aerith. Like, we barely got anything on Tifa, sadly.
But I actually really liked Tifa by the end, and I like her and Cloud's relationship, and it became such like maybe her and Cloud are meant to be together, and I liked their dynamic. And she's like a friend. She's a fighter basically. You have Aerith, who is a spellcaster, mage, and then you got Barrett, who is just the freaking best character in the world. Yeah. And he has a big machine gun on his right arm, and he shoots stuff.
I want an off-story game with just about Barrett.
Yeah.
Like, all about his backstory, his life, like how he got to this point. I feel like it'd be amazing.
It'd be great.
It was just they didn't mean to, but the game set up Barrett so well. Like, it just feels like I feel so attached to Barrett's story.
Well, I guess let's talk a little bit about the characters while we're here, because that's what we're talking about. I feel like every character gets introduced in this way that's like, oh my god, like it's this character. Like, Aerith's annoyingly innocent. Tifa's like, really okay, let's do it, and like,
it's like, I don't like that Cloud.
Yeah, and then Barrett is like this just over the top, aggressive, like Mr. T character, because that's who he's based off of.
Yeah, he's Mr. T.
But they slowly like unravel, and you get to see like different glimpses of it. Like, I really loved the arc of Tifa, and I don't think it's really spoiling it, but like she's kind of reluctant to what you're doing the whole game, and like not finding her cause, and I loved like slowly finding that cause. And Barrett being very much like mucho aggressive, of like macho aggressive, not mucho, but mucho works as well. He's mucho aggressive.
Yeah. Muy aggressive.
Muy aggressive. But he's like very aggressive about it, and slowly realizes like maybe his way of getting revenge isn't the best way. I thought the characters,
you see like a softer side of him at points, and that's, I felt like, was really telling.
Yeah, and his relationship with his daughter is beautiful.
That right there is like, for me, like, ooh,
the hearts. Let's not go into too much of it, but
tune into the spoiler cast if you really are not going to play the game.
Yeah,
or you know about the Final Fantasy VII story. Yeah, because we're diving in. Mm-hmm. There are points in this game that we got to like just belch out.
I totally agree.
But anyways, you have the 4 characters.
Yeah, and
they all are RPG elements. So like some characters, like Barrett, he's tanky.
Yeah,
he's tanky. He's got damage from a distance. He can really like lay down the fire. And then you have people like Cloud, who's like a brawler, but you could like make him all around. You can make him somewhat tanky.
You can make him a mage.
Like, yeah, he's great because he's an all rounder. Tifa, like, you have to play DPS. Like, she's
so
like
strong.
Truck.
When I figured out she's got a concentration move that the first move she launches in a fight is like insane. Yep. I was like, oh crap, you are my like DPS like hitter. Like, this is awesome.
Yeah, I pure DPS.
Yep.
She was like a feather, like, so I gotta keep like just stack barriers and stuff on her, and boom, go. And then you have Aerith, who is like she could be like your healer, but she's your spellcaster. Like, that's where I put all the spells on it, and she'll do damage from a distance, which is so great.
Did you so then you can upgrade every character, right? You can build your characters out. But what I loved about this game is you didn't put points into the characters. You put points into their weapons.
Yes.
And you can reset their weapons at like any time from the combat kid Chadley. for like next to no money. Like it is basically free, which at the end of the day I was like, why don't you just make this free? Because that would be like,
and you can use base weapons the whole game.
Yep.
So I buster sworded the whole way.
Oh, did you? Great. Okay, yeah. I used a different sword the whole game.
I kept it pure.
Yeah.
But I had 3 swords. I had the heavy and then like a bat with nails.
Yeah. So I found every weapon in the game.
Ooh.
Which I was super stoked about. Yeah. Because my goal was I wanted to get the trophy that you could get all the weapon abilities. So basically when you use a weapon long enough, every weapon has its own special ability. And when you use that special ability enough times, you then get it and you like learn the skill. And then you can use the special ability on every...
You're right, yeah. You can on any other weapon, which is pretty great.
Which was great. That triple slash move, did you have that?
Yes.
That move is amazing.
Pretty good.
Yeah. I just messed up some bosses.
And then you can think about the moves and you know at what instance to use it. Like, you use focus thrust to like close the gap or something. Or it's like pretty great to think about like each person's at what point would you use their abilities. And like sometimes it was like I had so much, I was like, well, what do I do? Like there's so I'll use it. So it gets a little like overwhelming at some point.
I felt and then throughout the world you can find materia, which is like your ability to use magic or skill, like not skills, but like abilities, I guess. Well, no, because that's what they're called. I don't know.
It's like magic or like item boosts.
Item boosts, like buffs.
Stat boosts.
Yeah.
Stat buffs, yeah. It's buffs or
buffs or spells. And then you can then equip them on every character, and different weapons have a different number of slots, different armor equipment have different slots that you can then
unlock slots.
Yep.
And then some slots are linked.
Which I found out like really late in the game.
So you can have materia that combine and do like special abilities. Like we're talking like there's like a magnify.
Yep.
There's one that like you can increase like the potency of it. Like there's like a HP up, MP up, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So you can. There's synergies with it, and that's I feel like is also complex in itself. The system really allows yourself to like do what you want, and you can tune it. I feel like it could be better, like where you could tune it per battle. Because at some point it's like, oh, maybe I want to do this. This guy's really weak to this, so I'm gonna put this on. Like I said, there's so much slots sometimes. Like I could just put whatever I want.
And well, there is a cutscene later on in the game, when you're like having to go fight a boss kind of out of nowhere, that shows like hit square for menu, and you can like readjust your materia. And this like it's one cutscene.
Well, it happened twice. The first time I didn't do anything, I was like, man, it would be really great if I could like change my build because I changed it for this fight, and then I saw it the next time, and I was like, oh, okay.
I was like, oh, okay, cool. They're giving me a time to do it.
Yeah, I did it for the very last fight.
Yeah. So I think all of those elements, they add up, and it sounds so complicated, but then like getting your head around it makes it feel so personal. To the point, like the game, you constantly are kind of moving companions. Like you're not moving them around, but the game is moving the companions around for you, which some people I know are really not going to like because it's like they're taking away my party choice in a JRPG. I personally liked it because it made the narrative make sense. And I didn't feel like I was without a character for too long where I'm like, okay, I just need this character because they do this. Like I really enjoyed playing as all 4 characters.
Me too. Like I think there was not one point where I was like playing someone was like, oh man, I was like every single person had like something they would want to do.
Yeah.
And like that was pretty great. Like I love switching between like Bear or like sometimes you don't have to stick with Cloud the whole time, which is what I was doing at the beginning. And I was like, oh, that was a big mistake because I really should have been like figuring out what these other people are doing. And then I was like, oh, this guy has this. Oh, this guy does this.
Yeah. Did you find any of the weapons for Barrett that made him melee?
Yeah, there's the claw one that I found.
I hated all of the melee weapons.
Like I saw it, I was like, why would I ever make Barrett melee? But I guess you could.
I guess like you could, but I think that's the cool like
you need
variety,
range,
right? Yeah. I was like, I want Barrett to have this gun.
Cloud only has like spells, and then, like, how do you build it up? You just like off like fighting in a corner to build up your AP or something.
Yeah. So I think that's kind of the broad strokes. But I want to talk about kind of 2 things that really stood out for me in this game. The music.
Yep.
The music in this game is legendary. I mean, next to The Last of Us, I think this is like the most unique music I've heard in a game. And I know it comes from the Final Fantasy VII original game, but kind of just the variety and the intense like moments that like ramp up with these crescendos and
I'm a big fan of the Final Fantasy VII original soundtrack. Like I didn't play the game.
Yep.
But I know the music off the back of my hand. You got To Fight a Battle is probably one of the greatest soundtracks, and it's played throughout the whole game. There's another one where it's called Fighting. That's probably the most famous one. Like I feel like I want to like make the sounds, but
I know.
But anyways, so they do these songs, and it's the same song, but when you're listening to it, it's not the same. Which is, it has like the same sort of. I got music theory wise, it has the same sort of ramping, but it's like different ways of flow. Like it's got a different flow, so it doesn't sound like repetitive. Because in the original game, you hear the same exact fighting song like almost every single time, unless it's a boss fight, which they have their own song, which they did in this game, and they redid every single one and made it better. The soundtracks are great, like it is. And then in certain points, it's like it sounds a little weird, but it's like it was the original game soundtrack. So it's like, oh, okay, I guess that's what it's supposed to sound like. So interesting. But when you're fighting, it's like, you know, again, talk about it again, Doom Eternal. It's like when you're fighting, that music is so perfect for the fight. And like I would I'd play, go to bed, it would still be playing in my head. Like it was that like interesting. Like it was crazy like how good it is. And you're right, it did already have the original game. But if you go back and listen to the original game, it's not 1-to-1. No. Because there you're working with the PS1 sound chip, and like you couldn't do like as fancy. Now you got a full orchestra, you got real like power, and it was like it's so well done. So anyone who just wants to listen to the soundtrack, go ahead and I was listening on YouTube, so I was like,
I've been listening to it on Spotify.
There's so many good stuff.
Yeah,
Spotify. It's beautiful and it works.
Speaking of beauty, I think this game's graphics, just graphically, this game is stunning. What I was talking with Maddie while we were playing it was the game is not like trying to be realistic. Like it's not trying to be Uncharted 4, right? Like Nathan Drake's not meant to look like you and I. Cloud and obviously Barrett, like they are kind of more anime-esque characters.
Anime,
but the way that they use lighting and like scope and scale, there were some times like looking up, like you're on the slums and you look up at like, you know, the plates above you and like just the scope of like, I've never seen scope like this in video games where like, I feel like I am, you know, thousands of feet up in the air. And like, there's a scene where you are running up like a construction site next to like this plate. And it is just stunning how they have managed to capture scope in this game.
Oh, yes. Scope and scale, especially with like the amount of graphics they were like showing. Like it was very telling that they were really focused on what you were doing. Like all the graphics around you look amazing. Where at some points you could tell like they like toned it down.
Yeah, like all the NPC side quest characters.
But it still works. Like it was still okay. And that's the main point. They really drove home the areas that were like important. And I think the game doesn't have look too good every single little aspect, but it made little things look good, which is impressive.
Yeah.
Because you spend most of the time, boy, this is a slight spoiler, in slums.
I think that's pretty notable.
You're spending most of your time in slums, and it really was like went to heart on like how these looked and built, so like level design. God, it must have been like so telling, like how much pain and process just to get everything refined, and it looks so good. So hats off to that. It was immersive. Like that was the main point. It looks so good that I was immersed.
Well, and going off like the slums thing, I think it's such an interesting storytelling point, but this is not like a spoiler. There's a section like right in the beginning of the game. Obviously, you do the Mako reactor that's like super famous. It's the demo of this game.
Yeah, you've played the demo, which is free, so play that.
But you then go into like the city, like of Midgar, and you're in like the kind of more modernized city. It looks like a Londonish city, right?
Yes, it's very London.
And Maddie made the comment of like, you've been in this city for a while, just running around like on rooftops. And I was like, yeah, but I kind of think they're doing something here. And you spend so much time in the beginning of like seeing how like Midgar lives, right? And then you go to the slums, and you are in the slums for most of the game, and you're like, oh, they put you in this section for a long time to see like the grandiose nature of it, to then feel horrible for these people living in the slums, living under the plate of the people.
You're living like you don't even get full sunshine, which is
it's really cool.
Scary, like how that works. But it's so telling. Like the underlying like story of this game is so incredible. Like I can't wait to expand upon it. But story that's another thing which we'll touch upon right now. But it's great. And it's at a certain point we were like talking about it. The ending. Again, we'll talk about that.
Yeah, I want to dive into that because I read a lot about it.
If you were like played the original, it's from what I've heard it goes 1-to-1 for a long way.
Well, it's the first like 5 hours of the original game, which is so absurd that this 33-hour game was 5 hours of the original game.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy, and so it goes into detail. And so like I wish I played the original game because then I could have like nostalgia factor. But everyone was so impressed at certain points when it's like,
are you gonna go back and play the original?
I have time.
Yeah, if you got another 2 years to wait.
I don't know if it's
Yeah.
2 years maybe.
I know. I think I might. Now that I've really fallen in love with these characters in this world, that I'm like, I kind of want to play the original game and see where the story is. That being said, so story, I don't want to talk much about the story. It's a great story. The characters are fantastic. The cutscenes are insane. The action in the cutscenes is sometimes more exciting than you fighting. Like there were certain times where cutscene action would be going and I'm like, don't make me play. Like I want to see like because I want to see like how this story is being told rather than like now you're like, fighting this boss forever. I was like, I love the pacing of this. Another thing that I noticed, just small, but I thought it really helped kind of make me a part of it. In the cutscenes, when every time you're in a cutscene and then it goes to like you're gonna fight, the camera is the same. It pans out and like behind you. It never like cuts and you're just standing there. Like it always is a motion.
No cut. It
flows into
you're
it.
You're in it. Yep.
It's something that God of War did. Obviously, God of War was one take, where this is not one take. But just the way the camera is used, like it makes you really feel a part of the cutscenes too. Like I remember playing the original Uncharted's, and like it's so like, okay, I'm playing for the next cutscene, and then it's a movie, and I put the controller down and I'm like watching the movie. Well, this is like totally not that. Like you are still a part of it in the cutscenes, and then it comes out and you're like, okay, it's time to go.
Oh, you know what? You just reminded me of with Uncharted that there's one thing that this game doesn't have that I am so thankful for. It's so great. It's amazing. There's no action button press.
Thank God.
I was like, oh my God.
I know there's no quick time events.
Oh, quick time. That's what it is.
Yeah. You do have to hold a door lever. I was
that's great.
Dude, I was on Twitter and someone was complaining about this game and he was like, it's such crap. You have to like hold the triangle button for a door lever. I was like,
wait,
this is your complaint about a video game?
Someone's gonna make a comment. There is a button pressing event, but it's not a quick time event. So boom.
There is. Yeah, and it fucked me up.
But
it really fucked me up.
I'm pretty good at those stuff, so I did pretty good.
Oh, God, dude, I don't want to talk about that part. I sat there for a long time. We'll talk about it in the spoiler cast. Any final thoughts on Final Fantasy VII that you have before spoiler cast?
So I know people, I was like reading online. There's like purists who don't like where the direction of the game went. And I
don't think we should talk really about where it goes.
No. But okay. I'm just gonna talk about
that they changed some stuff. Yeah.
But I feel like I am wholeheartedly with how it ended. I love the notion of a continuation of Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
So if this is like it is, if you're looking for like in a 1-to-1 remake, this is not it. Yeah. However, if you're looking for an expansion on an idea
of that game,
one of the greatest Final Fantasy VII of all times, this is that game.
Yeah.
It's so amazing. It's so pure to the original, while also like giving better elements, expanding on a great combat system, on a great story, on a great soundtrack, on a great every little point that they needed to hit, they hit it.
Yep, I would agree.
So it maybe at like very little things like I would like. It was like one little thing I'd probably like hate on the whole game. That's it.
What'd you hate on?
That's very impressive. Some of the AI stuff.
Oh, okay, yeah. Like your combat
that
partners,
is so hard to do though. Like to have proper combat. Like when I think about something to hate on, like it's like how would I improve it? That's how I like how would you improve it?
Yeah.
And it's so hard for me to think like how would I improve it because it's just you need to like have it. I don't want to get too much into it.
No, I know what you're saying.
Yeah, the AI could
be
use
better.
a buff.
Yeah, my final thoughts on it. Like I said, I genuinely believe this is one of the best video games I've ever played. I'm so excited to play more of it. I'm gonna try to do the hard playthrough.
I've watched some of the hard playthrough. It is
super hard.
Rough.
Yeah, but I want to platinum this game. I love this game. Like I said, it is in my top 10 video games of all time. Like I'm enraptured with it, and I was bummed that I had to beat it today to record this. Like I love doing these podcasts, but like I was
really like pushed it up. I was with it. I was like, man, I gotta beat this. Like I can't take more time.
Like I want to like stay in this, like do all these side quests and stuff. I was like, no, I need to move on. Yeah, I genuinely think that
but
it
you
is
can
a
go
must
back.
play.
That's the best thing about it. You can
chapter selection. It's great.
And you can like, hey, you can go back and play in a chapter you want and at your level.
Which is cool.
I think everything scales.
I think so.
Check.
That's what I think it sounded
because I was watching someone else do it and it was scaling. Yeah. So that's great. I love when it scales.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
When Witcher does the same thing. That's why it's so great to do Witcher.
So, Final Fantasy VII Remake right now, it's my game of the year. Is it your game of the year as well? Of right now.
Definitely my game of the year. Yeah. Number one.
The thing I wanted to say really quickly, because I mentioned at the beginning, talking about the only reason I don't think this, or I think this will be my game of the year at the end of the year. There's only two things that I could foresee taking it over, and that would be Cyberpunk or The Last of Us, Part 2. Cyberpunk, I think, really has to be a different kind of RPG than I've never played before. Like, it really has to hit on all the promises they've kind of made, but not like, they haven't like made these promises, but saying it is this grand adventure that you are in total control of like every aspect.
It would have to have a better story for me, which I feel like, I know Last of Us is probably gonna have a better story, but we'll see. But it's like Game of the Year has to encompass all that. Like, and last year, last year's a fluke. Like, it was like, honestly, like, it was just like, you pick and choose, like, maybe. Yeah. This year, if all the games that are supposed to release, tough. Yeah. Very tough to like pick up.
And the only thing I could see with The Last of Us Part 2, obviously, as I talk about 5,000 times in this podcast, Last of Us is my favorite game of all time. I often think it's going to be like A New Hope and Empire for Star Wars, where I think A New Hope is a 10 out of 10, and I think The Empire Strikes Back is a 99.99999, right? Like, and they are so close and even. And if The Last of Us Part 2 is that, and it is, The Last of Us Part 2 is my second favorite game of all time, then of course it's my game of the year. But I don't know if that's going to happen.
Also, with all these delays, like, man, I feel like it could hurt it.
I know.
No, maybe not.
No, I don't know.
We'll see.
It's just going to make it better.
Definitely, like, Cyberpunk, it's like, ooh, that might get pushed back again.
They say that it's not, as of right now.
Yeah, from what I heard, it's not, but
we'll see.
They're going to run into the logistics issues. Yeah, so that's why I don't.
Yeah. So, to wrap up the show, before we go into spoiler talk, we always do our top 20 games of all time lists. We are getting close to the end, James. We are at 16 out of 20 games in the list. I'll read them really quickly, and then I will pick my nomination. I'll bring it to the floor, and I have one of two games that I'm nominating tonight that I've had in my head, because I have 2 picks left. So far we have Super Mario World, Minecraft, The Last of Us, Doom 1993, The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, Halo, Halo 2, Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, BioShock, Portal 2, Half-Life 2, Mass Effect 2, The Witcher 3, The Wild Hunt plus DLCs, Shadow of the Colossus, and last week's pick, which was Grand Theft Auto 5. Now, James, I'm glad to hear that you're so high on Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Because you're putting it on the list?
Because I am nominating it for this list.
Oh, great. We don't talk about it.
We don't have to talk about it much. But are you okay with that nomination?
Oh, no. Like, so I think I mentioned it like on a podcast earlier. Like, I hope.
You did.
I was like, for sure, a game that comes out this year will be on this list.
Yeah.
Because that's how stacked this year is. And that's how great all the games are. Final Fantasy Remake, even the original, I wish we played it, should have probably been on this list. Because it's out of that series, that's probably the best game. Final Fantasy has so many games. It has 15 games.
It has 15, yeah.
So 7 is a staple, and a lot of the characters are like, even me not playing it, I knew about Cloud. Like, I knew about Sephiroth. I knew all that, and it's just, it's a staple. And from hearing us talk right now, you know, like, how good it is.
Yeah, it's amazing.
How much people should be playing this game.
Yeah, and I hope so. I hope they are, and obviously we're gonna get a second one, and I can't wait. Can't wait for number 2.
Yeah. It's gonna be so.
Well, thank you so much for watching the Side Escape Gaming Podcast, episode 20. We did it 2-0. We'll be back for another 20 episodes. You can bet your booty on it. James, thank you so much for this review and also the 20 episodes. Have a fantastic week.